So good evening, guys. I can see some old faces. I can see some people that have been here last season. Officially, we're opening the season. I'm kind of excited, so it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. Now, I can imagine you've been here before because this is my, I don't know, fourth, fifth time, something like that. But before we start, because this is a specific subject, as you can see, we're talking about Bitcoin Spot ETF. Who here have heard of BlackRock? Okay, quite a lot of people. So you know who's Larry Fink. That's very important, right? So Larry Fink is the CEO of BlackRock. BlackRock is the largest, I'm talking largest, corporation in the world. They are assets under management corporation, which means they own stuff, okay? So people that think that, I don't know, Apple is big or Microsoft is big, Apple and Microsoft are practically owned by BlackRock, okay? So this is very important for you to understand because these are the players that we're going to be talking about today. So, you know how they imagine us? Generally, from 2000, let's say 14, 15, when we had the first bull market, they imagine us like some people sitting in the down on the -1, you know, in the basement, doing something on the computer, whatever, imagining how they call it, internet money. Okay, that was the first story, right? And you remember this guy, Larry Fink, as I was saying, this is the CEO of BlackRock, when he was asked 5 years ago, what do you think about Bitcoin? He said, Bitcoin is the index of money laundering of a country. So he said, more Bitcoin there is in a country, it means it's more corrupt. There is more money laundering going on. This is the same guy that turned into Bitcoin Jesus right now, but we're gonna get there. So why is it so important? Because I can imagine over here there is a lot of people investing, right? I can imagine, how many people have invested in any cryptocurrency? Okay, so we have plenty. The idea is that until now, all these, let's say, bull markets until now, let's say these 3 full bull markets, we had only a retail sector and these bad guys called the whales, right? So now for the first time in this bull market, we have something that has never happened before. Now we have the institutions, these guys, the big guys, finally coming into the game. It changes everything, and we are going to show exactly how. And it's not like we didn't have Bitcoin Spot ETF before. We did have in Germany, we had in Canada, we had in Brazil, but we never had in the biggest economy of the world, US, right? That's the biggest economy. So like it or not, until it comes there, it's still something that is taboo, something that is in the basement, these people sitting over there with beards. Sorry, no offense, I have as well. You know, coding something, imagining internet money. Let's see if it's like that. So the first topic, obviously, we need to explain what exactly is an ETF, because you can be talking until tomorrow, people need to understand. So we're going to do it in the simplest, most simple way that we can actually do explanation about this. So it means exchange traded fund, which means this is practically what you can trade on an exchange. But we're not talking exchange like Binance and Kraken, these things that we use. We're talking about exchanges like the Chicago Mercantile Exchange or the New York Stock Exchange, right? Why is it so important? Because over there are the big guys. They don't bother themselves with Binance, not yet. So practically what you do is, any kind of this, practically as you can see over here, doesn't matter if it's stocks, if it's bonds, or if it's a different kind of capital good, oil, wheat, whatever. Anything can be combined and tracked by an ETF. So practically, what does it help you with? Instead of you going and buying 1 barrel of oil, nobody wants to buy a barrel of oil and keep it, right? I mean, it's practically really unpractical. What you do, you buy part of the ETF through the stocks of the ETF. So you buy a little bit of what these big guys own. And they allow you to enter the market because otherwise it's impossible. Can you buy 1 ton of wheat? Where are you going to keep it? How are you going to buy it, right? They allow you to actually buy share of it through owning stocks in their ETF. So the big guys like BlackRock, Fidelity, Invesco are corporations which own everything, and they allow you to buy stock in what they own. So you can hold it, sell it whenever you want, right? So why is it so important? Because first time in history, they finally decided to do a spot Bitcoin ETF. Before we did have an ETF, but it was called futures. The difference is, then when you have futures ETF, it's just like gambling. Why? Because these are literal papers that are tracking the price of Bitcoin. But the company does not need to buy Bitcoin to actually have these kind of stocks that they're issuing. They're issuing just literal papers, and this is allowed. Unfortunately, in America, everything is allowed. But now, finally, with the spot Bitcoin ETF, none of these companies can issue a share without buying the same amount of Bitcoin for this client that actually pays, right? So that's the most important part we need to understand. The spot Bitcoin ETFs that are now finally approved, when somebody from this company buys, let's say, for example, you want to invest in BlackRock's ETF, right? IBIT. So you want to invest $200. When you give this $200 to BlackRock or whatever, your broker, doesn't matter how you actually enter the market, BlackRock in the same time needs to buy the same amount of dollars in Bitcoin and hold it while you hold this stock. So if you decide to sell it, then also BlackRock needs to practically sell this amount of Bitcoins for you to get the money back, right? So that's why it's very important, because for the first time in history, they have to own Bitcoin. And we're not talking about owning Bitcoin. They are going to own the market. They are hungry like never before. So as you can see, this is news from January the 10th. I can imagine most of the people that are actually following the market. For us, this was the biggest thing that happened in crypto so far. And this over here is the chart as they started accumulating from the 10th of January to over here is the 28th of August, because I was doing the presentation then. So let's say there is a gap of 10 days. So what you can actually see over here, this guy managed from January to August, like around 7 months, to buy effectively more than 300,000 Bitcoins. And another important thing that you need to consider is that from the beginning of January to August, we had a price that was around 40, then it went to 75, then it fell down to 50, and now it's around 55. Which means their average buy is around, I don't know, $55,000 to $60,000 per Bitcoin, and they still managed to accumulate 300,000 Bitcoins. And did anybody of you heard about this? Okay, but people that are tracking the market know about this, right? But did any one of you heard that BlackRock is buying Bitcoin? No. You see how important this is? Now, why is this important? This is the first time in history that everyday retail sector guys like us, these people from the basement, managed to front run the biggest players in the game. You know why? Because this guy 5 years ago was too busy saying, oh, that's just a money laundering index. And now he is on every TV going and saying, Bitcoin is the future. We're all about the future. And let me think, ladies and gentlemen, this is the face of capitalism. So you see how fast things turn in one bull market. So why is this so important now? Let's go forward. Let me show you what is the potential of the Bitcoin Spot ETF, and with this, obviously, the Bitcoin price. What you see on the left over here is the Bitcoin Spot ETF from the start. This is a trading view chart, just for you to have an idea how much big of potential we're talking about. And let's not forget that the Bitcoin has more than $1 trillion market cap, which means that's how much money is invested in this capital good. And in the same time, let's compare it to gold. Why to gold spot ETF? Because if you compare these two things, maybe somebody from you was here when I was speaking about Bitcoin, gold, and real estate. If not, generally what we are going to mention is that gold itself as a good, as a capital good, is the one that is, let's say, very similar to Bitcoin, because there is no issuer, right? In the same time, it's very hard to control the market itself because there is a lot of players holding gold, same like Bitcoin, but we're not going to go that much into it. The idea is that if you compare all the, let's say, traits of this capital good, you can see that gold is the only one that actually fits the chart for Bitcoin. So what happened? Gold spot ETF, same like Bitcoin spot ETF, was approved in 2004. And in 2024, finally it made 500%. So it took 20 years for this spot ETF to bring you 500%, 20 years. But let's not forget that in 2004, who of you was on the internet? Even if you were, there was no places you can buy spot ETF. So it means you had to be in America, in a specific place, to know all this, to be able to invest. Unlike this part here, that is practically everybody missed it, let's be honest, except for some people in Wall Street. Over here, you're currently here, right? You can invest, right? Again, nobody's selling you anything. This is not a financial advice. I'm just trying to show you what we are practically missing. And unfortunately, we are missing it. And trust me, BlackRock loves it. Now look at this. From the day of approval, 11th of January, in only 60 days, it managed to gain 61.5% on its price. So practically from 45,000, it came to 73,000.6, right? So we're talking about an enormous jump in only 62 days. So let's see who these guys are, because until you understand who are these people that are actually entering the market, you don't understand how big this thing is. Before, this was only, yeah, there is these guys buying Bitcoin, it's a bubble, it's gonna fall, that's it. Every cycle, same story. Once we get to the top, everybody is excited. Once the price starts going down, that's it. You see, it's finished. Bitcoin is dead, like what, 73,000 times? God knows how many. There is even a page of obituaries, how many times Bitcoin was pronounced dead. Now, look at these guys. Look how big they are. BlackRock is the biggest asset under management corporation in the world. There is nothing that these guys don't own. A sweatshop in Philippines that produces sneakers, 50% for sure is of BlackRock. And not directly, because they own a corporation in Italy, which owns a subsidiary in Malaysia, which practically owns the sweatshop in Philippines. That's how these people work. And they don't want you to know who they are. You know who is Microsoft, you know who is Apple, but most of you have no idea who is BlackRock. And if you know who is BlackRock, then you don't know who is Fidelity, or who is Franklin Templeton, or Invesco. Why? These guys have now officially passed $10 trillion under management. So they own stuff more than $10 trillion. You can imagine how much capital we're talking about. Next guy that actually got spot ETF. So these are the 10 guys that actually got a spot ETF. These are the companies that decided to have their own trading, exchange traded fund in which you can invest. You can buy stocks for which they buy Bitcoin. The second one is 4.5 trillion. Now it's even more, because again, this is a little bit old. I took this from an article when this was approved. The third one is actually seventh largest, is practically this is not the third one. For some reason, these guys actually didn't realize that this is the third one. It is not 1.5, it's 1.7 trillion, not billion. And then the fourth largest, so this is when you put them from assets under management from first two onwards, you can see first, third, seventh, and eighth. The other ones I'm not even going to mention, because those are practically crypto firms that are very into it, and they are into it since the beginning. So look how big these players are. And look how much they managed until 29th of August to accumulate. BlackRock itself managed to accumulate $21.2 billion of worth of Bitcoin, or 357,000 Bitcoin. Now, how much is this? 210,000 Bitcoin is 1% of the full supply. So they managed to accumulate in these 7 months 1.5% of the full amount of Bitcoin that will ever be, 21 million. So do you realize how interested they are in this market? I mean, this shows you that in 7 months they are trying to buy as much as possible. And this is not for no good reason, right? The third largest company in the world owns $10 billion, or 179,000 Bitcoins. And we're not going to go down the list. Obviously, you see where this is going. But now, very important, we also need to understand that before, there was one player that had a private fund, and this is called Grayscale. He owned 600,000 Bitcoin when the Bitcoin spot ETFs were approved. And unfortunately, this is one of the main reasons that we don't have a better price today. Because these guys managed, for this time of 7 months, to lose 2/3 of their full amount of 600,000 Bitcoins, because a lot of these people were in bad profit. We're talking 3-4x profit. And for Wall Street, 3-4x profit is like, wow. You know, for them, Tesla does 20% and they start, I don't know, champagnes, you know, whatever. Whatever you want to drink, we pay for everybody. For them, 3-4x in 7 months is something unseen. So I'm trying to explain to you how big for them this is, because they are starting to enter the market, and this is the magic part behind it. So these here are the buys for Bitcoin from the first day to 29th of August. So watch this now. If you see the first time here, they were buying more than 10,000 Bitcoin per day. And these days that there is nothing, that's Saturday and Sunday, since Wall Street doesn't want to work Saturday and Sunday, you know. And, okay, we have a period that they didn't buy. There was a problem with Israel and Palestine. There was a problem with Russia and Ukraine, so they kind of slowed down. Now we have renewed interest and they continue buying. So what is the conclusion of all this? If you take all this medium range, let's say, for buying from the first to the last day, they are buying around 3 to 5,000 Bitcoin per day. 3 to 5,000 Bitcoin per day they are buying. And in the same time, Bitcoin has a halving cycle, which means you know exactly how much Bitcoin you can produce in a day. And in this situation, since we had the halving on April 2024, from April 2024, you can produce 3.125 Bitcoin per block. And because blocks are every 10 minutes, in one day you have 144 blocks, which means you know exactly how much Bitcoin you can produce. There's 450 Bitcoins per day. Do you see the difference? Do you see how big of a difference? So these guys are buying 3 to 5,000 Bitcoins per day, and all the miners in the world can produce 450 Bitcoins per day. It's just a matter of time before we have a price shock. Why? Because if something is popular on the market and everybody wants to buy it, there is, imagine now in this case, we have a factory that can produce 450 pairs of shoes, right? But the society that is actually buying the shoes, they need 3 to 5,000 per day. So there is just a matter of time before we come to a point that there is no Bitcoin to buy. And we're coming to a point where we're going to have a massive price shock, but massive, because these guys are not stopping. As we can see, they're just continuing with the buying as we speak, and they don't want you to know it. Again, I didn't come here to sell you Bitcoin. I just came here to tell you what is going on and where this is leading, because this is, how can I say, anybody that has like just 3% of economical knowledge knows that this is a price shock like we've never seen before. And we already saw it at the beginning. The price went from 40 to 75,000 in 62 days. Now, another thing that we need to consider is how good are these spot ETFs. So let's compare them to everybody else, to all in the last 20 years, for example. Let's compare to all the other ETFs that we have had. So these are the records that they managed to break so far. And don't forget, this is only 7 months. The first record that they managed to break is 4.6 billion trading on the first day. Something haven't been seen in the last 20 years. Guess from when? From the gold spot ETF, right? Okay. The second one, they managed to beat it later on in March, where they beat their previous record of 4.6 billion trading to 7.7 billion in the same day. Then, BITB is actually BlackRock's spot ETF for Bitcoin. They managed to get to 1 billion in the top 25 ETFs in the history. So from the beginning, from the moment that we have ETFs, and this is like after Second World War, they managed to be one of the top 25 ETFs that managed to get fastest to 1 billion collected funds for Bitcoin. And guess what? On 1st of March, officially, BlackRock managed to be the first one in time frame to beat $10 billion collected. So from top 25 to first in history with the fastest collection of $10 billion. Then, in one day, all these ETFs, they managed to collect 1 billion of inflows. Something, again, not every day seen. Something that is very rare. We're talking about $1 billion of inflows. This is in one day, they bought $1 billion of Bitcoin. So it's like a vacuum cleaner for Bitcoin, if you ask me. And let's not forget the best part. From the beginning, from the first day, from 11th of January, BlackRock managed to have a 71-day streak of inflows. So they had a 71-day of inflows. Every day of this 71, somebody was buying Bitcoin in the Bitcoin spot ETF. Again, something not seen in the last 20 years. So they're breaking record as they go. Literally every day there is something else that they broke in record of how much Bitcoin they're buying. I mean, again, it's one thing to say, yes, it was successful. You know how they managed. Okay, it's okay. Another thing is how much the traditional finances have no clue how this big is. Let me tell you why. Before the 11th of January, the news, the traditional finance, because I'm also following Bloomberg, I'm following these big houses that actually have a, let's say, economy program. They were saying, if a Bitcoin spot ETF manages to collect 1 billion until the end of the year, all of them combined, we will consider it a good ETF. 1 billion, all of them combined, until the end of the year. BlackRock managed 21 billion until 28th of September. 21 billion until, so do you realize how much even the traditional finances have no clue how big this is? So we're talking about people that have been watching ETFs for the last 20 years. These are people that this is what they do every day. That's how much these people have no clue where this is going. That's the interesting part. Now, the next one that we know about, obviously, is Ethereum Spot ETF, right? This is the second largest market cap altcoin, as you know, and also another one of BlackRock's favorite. Is not for no reason, obviously, because I don't know if you are informed, but BlackRock is doing a platform for real-world asset tokenization on Ethereum called BUIDL, which means these guys are trying to tokenize everything, but everything from stocks to real estate to bonds, and they're doing it. There is a rwa.xyz page which tracks the tokenized capital goods in the world. These guys are crushing it. BUIDL platform managed to collect $500 million in the first 3 days. So this is how much money is invested in what BlackRock is building. If BlackRock says it, it's gonna do it. So one thing you need to learn about investment is follow the big guys. It's always very wrong to go against them. So when BlackRock says ETF for Ethereum is very smart thing to do, they don't do it for no reason. There is definitely something behind it. Now, as you can see, if you see the progress of Ethereum Spot ETF, this is the second part that I was doing the presentation, so it's like until 3rd of September. Unfortunately, I was doing it every day, like in a week. So look at the chart. Unfortunately, as you can see over here, we can see a lot of outflows. And these outflows are coming from the same player, Grayscale. Grayscale was the only organization in America smart enough to have a private fund of Bitcoin, private fund of Ethereum. And they have a lot of altcoins, but we're not going to talk about that. So what they did, they front-ran the front-runners. They actually offered to everybody that wants to buy Bitcoin or Ethereum before it was even an idea to have a Bitcoin or Ethereum Spot ETF. But unfortunately, these investors, since they did, again, 3-4x, something unthinkable for Wall Street, they started exiting. So as you can see at the beginning, they started exiting the market exactly on the 23rd of July as the same thing happened with Bitcoin Spot ETF. So everybody is disappointed. Oh my God, Ethereum Spot ETF, there is no inflows, people are not interested. Is this really the truth? We're going to see with time. But if we compare the Grayscale fund, which is actually bleeding out, the same as Bitcoin, the same as Ethereum. So this is the only guys that are selling on the market. Everybody is buying. Fidelity, Invesco, Franklin Templeton, BlackRock, only Grayscale is selling. The same thing that they did for Bitcoin, they did for Ethereum. So as you can see over here, this is a chart in days, how much they bled out on the market while everybody was buying. So what was happening for the Bitcoin Spot ETF? They managed to lose 60% of their whole stash of 600,000 Bitcoin in the first 150 days. And they are doing the same with Ethereum. And as you can see over here, the outflows of Ethereum and the outflows of Bitcoin, which is actually this part here, is the same size of this here, because let's not forget that Ethereum was approved on 28th of July. We're literally seeing the same pattern, where Grayscale is selling and everybody else is buying. Yes, I know it's a little bit slow on the market. We've seen Ferris is crying. I'm crying as well, trust me. But we're going to a very, very good place. But doesn't matter. Again, I'm not here to tell you pink stories. I'm here to tell you what's happening, and you need to draw your own conclusions. Now, same guys. Again, why do you think the same guys are here again? So when it was only Bitcoin, we were saying, okay, it's only Bitcoin, you know, because Bitcoin is #1, nobody can follow it. But then why are they here for Ethereum? Why they came back for the second largest Bitcoin, for the second largest altcoin? And let's not forget, unlike Bitcoin, Ethereum has a founder. Ethereum has a foundation, right? They have a lot of, let's say, Ethereum in their stash, which means it's not the same decentralization as Bitcoin, but they're still here. The same guys. 2 guys are missing. Over here are 8. Oh, sorry, those are 12, these are 10. But again, if we see the largest players, BlackRock, Fidelity, Invesco, and we're missing only Franklin Templeton. But the same, #1, #3, #7 in assets under management are again in the same place. And they have collected. BlackRock has managed to collect in this short time since practically start, what is like a month and a half practically, $825 million of Ethereum they collected until now. Fidelity second with 320 million, and so on and so on. But what's the difference now? If we compare Bitcoin to Ethereum, the first thing you know that is different is the market cap, right? The market capitalization, the amount of money that was invested in Bitcoin and Ethereum. And as you can see over here, again, this is on the 4th of September. Now it's a little bit different. This is just for you to have an idea. You can see that the difference is in these two market caps is around 5 times. So if BlackRock collected 21 billion of Bitcoin in the first 7 months, and they collected almost 1 billion in the first month and a half in Ethereum, and we can see that they have a 5 times smaller market cap than Bitcoin, then you can imagine what's the potential in the Ethereum spot ETF. It's even bigger, because we're talking about a lot smaller market cap, which means if you invest $100 in Bitcoin, it's going to take, so now is $1.1 trillion market cap. So you need to have another $1.1 trillion invested in Bitcoin for you to have 100% back on your investment, which means you gave $100 and now you have $200. The price has appreciated 100%. But in the same time, over here, you need only 300 billion, right? I mean, when I say 300 billion, it's like, yeah, whatever, 300 billion. But it's, again, compared to 1.1 trillion, it's a lot more plausible. It's a lot more possible, right? And we haven't even started with the bull market. What we've seen right now, without the rate cuts, is just the start of what is coming. And as you can see, again, we're talking about the same situation. We had a lot of outflows. It's kind of going up and down. But, again, it's coming. And another very important thing that you need to understand in the difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum, inflation. Inflation is the amount by which practically the price appreciates or depreciates. That's why we have inflation and deflation. What means is that we have on a yearly level, after the halving, because it was 1.7, unfortunately they still didn't change it, now it's 0.85, which means that the price of Bitcoin naturally will depreciate 0.85% on a yearly level, because there is 0.85 new Bitcoins that are coming in the market, right? So it's very easy to understand. But the difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum, even if it's not a big difference, it's a very structural difference. Ethereum is one of the rare cryptos that is deflationary. And it has been for the last 2 years, because the merge was 1 year and 355 days ago. So 2 years now, Ethereum is deflationary. They have a mechanism that they burn part of the transaction, part of the fee of every transaction, which means from the beginning of the merge to now, they actually managed to reach 0.2% deflation, which means that they are losing more tokens that they are gaining from the proof of stake mechanism. And in this case, unlike Bitcoin, which is losing 0.85% in price, Ethereum will be gaining. Okay, I get it that it's fluctuating, but as we can see, in 2 years, they didn't manage to go above zero, which means, again, maybe you're not losing, maybe you're not gaining in price, but you're not losing as well, right? So it makes it better than Bitcoin in this case. It's deflationary. And very important part of all this is that, okay, very important. Do you know this guy? So Larry Fink is crypto Jesus. This guy is definitely Peter. If you compare them, this guy is Saint Peter. Why am I saying this? So this is how a face of a crypto perma bull looks like. And this guy, unfortunately, is also a Bitcoin maximalist. Do you know what's a Bitcoin maximalist? Anybody knows? Okay. So for those that don't, Bitcoin maximalist is a guy that believes Bitcoin and nothing else. Everything else is what we were saying. Some people sitting in the basement, doing a code, whatever. They're thinking that they're doing something. Okay. And he was thinking Bitcoin maximalist until the 30th of April. I love this story. This is a story about a guy that was so sure of himself. I get it. This guy is a pioneer. He managed to persuade his company to invest only in Bitcoin. Like, only in Bitcoin. We're buying Bitcoin, more Bitcoin, and more Bitcoin. And now he is a legend in Wall Street. So he has like 7 billion, if I'm not mistaken, in profits that he is not realizing from what he was investing in the last period, right? So something unseen in Wall Street. He is a legend. But this legend is, unfortunately, as I was saying, Bitcoin maximalist. This is like believing that there is an ultimate technology that nothing else can beat. And let's not forget that Bitcoin is only the first generation of blockchain, We're currently at the 4th generation of blockchain projects. 4th. So can you imagine how many better projects are there? Okay, I get it. Bitcoin is the biggest, I understand. But we need to understand that technology is evolving. But unfortunately, sometimes dinosaurs like this guy don't. So practically what happened, they taught him a very good lesson. The guy came on the 30th of April. My God, I was like, seriously, bro? Came out on a Bitcoin conference and said like this. Bitcoin will be the only coin that will have a spot ETF. And nobody else. There will be no Ethereum, there will be no Cardano, there will be no Solana. And he said, you will see now that they will actually turn down the Ethereum spot ETF and they will never approve anything else, and every other altcoin will be sued by the SEC. The guy was talking like the Inquisition, man. Honestly, I was like, okay, why so much hatred? I get it. You did a lot of money. What did Cardano do to you? Solana, what did they do to you? I mean, okay, I get it. You're Bitcoin maximalist. Go with it, right? And then 1 month later, I love this about capitalism. They go with the flow, my friend. As the wind turns, they turn. What we were saying about the guy Larry Fink, I mean, the guy was so serious, like, Bitcoin? This is a money laundering, man, whatever. Don't even talk to me about it. Then we come to a point, the same thing like this guy. 30th, nobody will have anything, blah, blah, blah. 26th of May, we're talking not even a full month. They call him on a podcast because Ethereum spot ETF was approved. Magic, right? So he goes on the podcast, and the guy, obviously, after 1.5 hours of I went to the whole thing. I had to see what this guy gonna say. So he asked him, so what are we doing now? Ethereum spot ETF got approved. You know, okay, they did approve it. Ethereum ETF as a crypto industry victory. You know, we're stronger together. With the Ethereum, is gonna be better. We're more protected. As the wind goes, my friend. As the wind goes. That's the capitalism anyway. But why is it so important? The important part about Ethereum spot ETF is not that we have Ethereum spot ETF. Is that we have an altcoin spot ETF. Which means we will have other altcoin spot ETFs. That's not even a question anymore. We are there. Why am I saying this? Solana already has 2 applications from 21 Shares and Vanek. Those are 2 owners of Ethereum and Bitcoin spot ETF, which means they already have active applications. I get it. There was some problem. There is this lawsuit against Binance and Coinbase where they consider practically all these to be securities, but this is going to come to the end. Mr. Trump, you like it or you don't like it, that's not a problem. But he said, on the first day that I enter the office in January, I am going to fire Gary Gensler. Now, who here knows who Gary Gensler is? Now, this guy is the biggest obstacle to crypto since electricity. I mean, no electricity, no blockchain. The same with this guy. This guy literally comes up in the morning saying, okay, who am I going to sue today? But literally, I think he goes like this random, okay? Today Algorand. Okay, send a Wells notice to Algorand. Literally like this. This guy is a joke. So when this guy is gone, you can expect that these things will be reality. Why am I saying this? We're going back to the same guy which was thinking that it's only going to be Bitcoin, which is not possible. You cannot stop evolution of technology. This is something that was proven. If we had, I don't know, F14, then we had F16, then we had, I don't know, whatever F we have right now. Same goes for everything else. Technology continues. So Bitcoin will be the biggest one. I get it. That's a definition. But what we need to understand is that just a matter of time before we start getting altcoins to have their own spot ETF. And why is this so important? If you compare the market cap of Solana and XRP to Ethereum, they look like the difference between Ethereum and Bitcoin. Because Solana has like 60 billion, XRP has like 30 billion. And then as we go down, this guy has like, I don't know, 17, this guy have 10, these guys have, I don't know, 13. I'm not sure exactly, but what I'm trying to tell you is that, can you imagine the institutional money of BlackRock, of Fidelity, coming into a small market cap like 17 billion Cardano? Can you imagine what there is going to change if they just invest, I don't know, 2 billion, right? That's straight away like 13, 14% jump of the price. What I'm trying to say is that all these projects themselves, they have valid technology that is used every day. So when we get to the point that finally institutions start investing in altcoins, this is like getting a stamp of approval. Okay, this thing is good for institutional investment. And again, don't forget, everybody that was here in the previous bull markets, we didn't even have an idea that one day we will have a spot ETF, which means this institutional money that we see, 22 billion from BlackRock in Bitcoin and 1 billion in Ethereum, were just an idea. Last bull market in 2021 was the biggest news that Elon Musk started selling Tesla with Bitcoin. That was the biggest news. Can you imagine? If I go 2017, it's even sad to tell you, right? When you consider what in 2017 came up first companies that started investing in Bitcoin. For us, that was like, whoa, big company, 10 billion started investing in Bitcoin, right? And now we have the largest players in the space. These guys are running the game and they're buying like there is no tomorrow. So as an ending to all this, what you need to understand is that, again, this is not a financial, I'm not telling you to buy, I'm telling you to study. Everybody saw for sure somewhere study Bitcoin, right? Study crypto generally. Why is this so? This is a special page which is called Cryptocurrency Adoption AAA, something like that. Very easy to find. According to their statistic, only 6.8% of the full population of the world owns or knows about cryptocurrencies. 6.8. This is to tell you that this is not late. That's why BlackRock is so in a hurry to buy as much as possible, because this is nothing. This is a fraction. Just for you to have a comparison how much this is. Internet has a 70% rate of adoption on a global level. 70. Internet is here since the 2000s. Even before, if you were living in a first world country, right? Anyway. But if internet in the last 25 years, let's say since it really got around the world, managed to get to 70% adoption, 25 years. Now with the technology that we have, that everybody has access to information, everybody can do stuff, right? Before you couldn't. It's impossible. It's sometimes, even now, people, I don't know, in Zimbabwe, I don't want to offend anybody, but what I'm trying to say is that, unfortunately, we have the same situation now. Third world country citizens, unfortunately, have no access to this kind of information. They have nowhere to see this. You understand what I'm trying to say? So now we have the privilege to see it, and everybody is like, it's okay, there is time. So I'm just giving you a heads up, think about it, because trust me, there is no time. And I know for my 4 last, let's say, presentations, at the end people are asking me, so where we can learn more, right? Unfortunately, my program with more than 1,100 videos is in Macedonian. I'm doing this because nobody's doing this for my country. So I'm taking from my time to present for people that unfortunately, because of the language barrier, cannot follow material in English, where we have a lot, right? Okay. But at the end of the day, because there was a lot of interest, and last time they asked me and I was feeling like a dumbass at the end, I'm saying, okay, you know what? So my channel is in Macedonian, thank you very much. If you know Macedonian, you can learn more, right? So what I'm going to do is, in the next presentation, potentially whenever we have it in Crypto Hub Malta, I'm going to announce more details about this. What I'm planning to do is a crash course in investment in blockchain. I'm not selling you anything. What I'm trying to say is that because there is a lot of interest and I'm working in a hotel, I have a very big conference hall, I can potentially do, let's say, some kind of a course of 10 weeks in a row, where I literally will charge only to cover the let's say, office itself. So practically what I'm going to do is a short course where you can learn from what is Bitcoin, gold, and real estate to how to invest, etc., etc. Anyway, I really thank you for your attention. I hope you enjoy.
We are a crypto-native community that aims to learn and share knowledge together. Join us at Soho, The Strand, every Wednesday to dive into our questions section live.